the NBA Finals are over, that means a couple of things. Well, one thing for the Kings, they can start negotiating with Malik Monk. But you can also negotiate with extension-eligible rookies
and vets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But for the Kings, what matters is they can start negotiating with Malik Monk.
Yeah. I don't think they can negotiate with Keegan Murray yet. I think that window opens up later. I might be wrong. Like rookie extensions. And either way, what is he? He's after his second year. No. He's got one more year. He's got one more year. But with De'Aaron Fox, they can offer De'Aaron Fox up to I think it's a 3 years, 165 extension.
Mm-hmm.
And if he would have made All NBA, he would have been eligible for like a 4-year, 235.
Right.
So a lot more. And if he makes All NBA next year, then he would be eligible for like a gigantic extension, which he will likely wait and see how that goes.
Do you see Jason Tatum's going to get like 5 and 315?
Oh, that's crazy.
It's going to be so much money.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep going up and going up and going up. So yeah, but this is the first day that you can start negotiating with your own free agents. So clearly the Kings were waiting at Alex Len, and they divided and conquered. Kessler Edwards' house, Alex Len's house.
Yeah, they just kick doors down on those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, everything I've heard, we've talked about this week, but everything I've heard is that the Kings are all in. Like whatever they can give Malik Monk, they would give Malik Monk. And I sort of did all my last minute research on Monk last night. So they have a couple of options that they can offer him. They can offer him a 2-year, $36.2 million deal with no options. But he would have his bird rights afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
They could give him an offer 3 years at 56.5 with an option after year 2. So it would basically be a 2-year plus one more. And so if things went wrong with Malik, he could say, hang on. And then they can also offer him a 4-year, $78.4 million with a player option after 3 years. And that would be like the most secure of the options.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hear a lot about him getting a 4-year, $78.4 million. Mm-hmm. But I'd say that the option for him to sign a 3-year, 56.5 is probably on the table, and probably something his agent and him would be more intrigued by, because that would give them the option of opting out after 2 years, mm-hmm. where he would have full Larry Bird rights, and you can actually negotiate with him prior to that and sign him to an extension like during the deal,
right?
Which is something that I would assume that the Kings would be interested in, and he would be interested in.
And that because so let's pause on that. So it'd be a player option after year 2 on that 3-year deal.
Yep.
So that would allow him, basically, if he continues playing this well and he wins the 6th Man of the Year and the Kings are awesome, and he could opt out after year 2 and get a massive extension.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if things don't go well and he struggles, or the Kings struggle and they want to go a different direction, or whatever plays out, he still has that little bit of stability
insurance
of hey, I got this player option. I'm going to be making 17.5, whether I'm even if I'm the worst player in the NBA.
Yeah. So it would be something like a $17.4 million first year, $18.6 million second year, and then like a $20.2 million.
Okay, so I know I've got $20 million in hand no matter how I play.
Yes.
And if I'm good, I can punt that and get way more.
Or let's just say you're having a great 2 years, but right near the end of the season, you take a bad step and injure yourself badly.
Yeah.
Now you're secure in what you're going to make in that 3rd year.
Yeah, take a bad step, or I don't want to, like, if a player falls on you.
Yeah.
They're trying to draw, like, I don't know, like Luka falls on you.
Flails on you, like an out of shape NBA superstar falls on you.
Yeah, just if something like that happens.
Randomly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get a little bit of insurance, but also that ability to renegotiate after a couple of years, where you're not locking yourself in at 4 years and $17.1 million or whatever it comes out to annually.
Yeah.
You're not locked in at that, but yeah.
And I think also for a player like him, like if he were to sign a 2-year, well, let's just say he signs a 3-year with a 3rd year player option.
Mm-hmm.
Next summer, I believe they could go back into that deal and renegotiate the third, fourth, fifth years onto the deal.
I see.
Yeah, because at that point he would have his full Larry Bird rights.
Mm-hmm.
And technically speaking, because that last year is an option year, he would be entering the official last year of his contract.
Mm.
The difference is that, like, the reason why you might sign a 4-year deal, just so number one, you get an extra year of insurance, right?
Right.
So a 3-year deal, you get that one extra the third year.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth, if you sign a 4-year deal, not only do you get that 20 point whatever guaranteed, but the next year, like 21, 22,
Mm-hmm.
is also now your insurance policy. But added on to that, if you were to say do a 15% trade kicker. So a trade kicker in the NBA, it counts for the length of the deal outside of option years. So again, if you were to sign him to a deal and then 6 months in, trade him, he gets 15% trade kicker from the team he's being traded from for the first year, the second year, and the third year. Though he wouldn't get one for the final year that's non-guaranteed. But a 15% trade kicker on 55 million, 56 million bucks is, I don't know, like 8 million bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of money. And it's something that you would build in if you were, his agent. If you, well, I'm pretty sure you can, even with the early bird, you can't build in incentives, I don't believe, to go above his standard contract. But the trade kicker you could have as part of the deal.
And he can't do a 2-year deal where he opts out after one.
No,
Right.
no,
Okay.
the early bird is well, they could waive his rights, and then he could sign a standard free agent deal, which would be for 120% of his current salary. So like a $12 million deal
Mm-hmm.
for 1 year. And then he would have Larry Bird rights after that. And then they would be able to work out a long-term deal, but he would be basically
That's
risking
risky.
everything.
That's very risky.
Yeah, 12 million. Because again, you want to solidify who you are in the league, and every year that
Right.
you're building on something, this is the first time
There's
in his career.
betting on yourself. There's betting on yourself, and then there's being smart.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll take $12 million this year for the chance to negotiate a big time deal next year, or I can do 3 years, 56.5 million with a chance to renegotiate after 2 years.
Yes.
Like,
well, that and then when you factor in other teams,
yeah,
like if he's only signing a $12 million deal,
yeah,
that's where you start getting into trouble.
Yeah.
Like I think there's even a possibility, like I haven't looked into it, that they could use their mid-level on him, which would be at least 13.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but even that,
I can't
that's
fathom that happening.
Like, why would you do it?
There's no reason.
Yeah. So, and because of the way where the Kings are at salary cap wise, and because they have the 13th pick in the draft, the 13th pick in the draft is slated to make $5 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
If they sign Malik Monk, they would actually be either at or slightly over the luxury tax.
Okay.
So they still have their mid-level, from what I've read, they still have their mid-level exception that they could use. But if they were to do all of this, sign Malik, pay for the number 13 pick in the draft, if they use the MLE and went over like $5.5 million of the MLE, it would hard cap them, and then they would be stuck. They couldn't for the rest of the year. They couldn't, like add another player at a different time.
Yikes.
And it makes trading and everything else a lot more difficult.
So the reason that this is not all the way in the Kings' hands, they have options. It's not the 4 years, 78.4, and that's all they can offer. That's what they're gonna, and that's it. Like you just listed out a few different ways they can go about this to try and give Malik Monk an incentive to stay, while also maximizing his value. The reason that he wouldn't just take that right now, and why I think we'll know what the Kings are going to offer, but we're not going to know whether Malik Monk is staying until he gets to explore free agency. Because there might be, if the Orlando Magic come in and say, hey, here is 4 years, $100 million. You're going to make 25 a year on average for the next 4 years. No options. No, that is just your salary. That's what you're making.
Mm-hmm. In Florida with a better,
that's
better income tax.
That's going to be enticing.
Oh yeah.
But also, maybe that deal's not out there. Like we've just kind of been operating like, yeah, teams are going to throw 20 or 25 million at Malik Monk. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll go, yeah, the Kings can offer you 17. 17-4, whatever it is, we'll give you 18. And maybe that's not as enticing now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that you're going to look at a couple of teams. Number one, you're going to look at San Antonio Spurs, who, like, I think most people believe we're operating as under the like a cap room team, right? But realistically, they're not, because they have two top. What do they have? The 4th pick and the 8th pick. And those 2 picks are so expensive that they push them up, like, close enough to the cap where it's kind of like hiding in the mid-level.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one team that I think is kind of out.
Mhm.
Orlando has a bunch of cap space, but they have 2 things that are kind of going against them. Number one, they're super interested in Klay Thompson from all reporting. For whatever reason, 25 to 30 million bucks a year, whatever reason, they're like all in on that.
I'm flummoxed.
Yeah.
That.
Okay.
No, not real quick on this, because I wanted to address this. This is not disrespect to Klay Thompson.
No.
He is one of my favorite players to ever lace up NBA shoes. I am a huge fan. Where he's at in his career right now, at age 34, 33, 34, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Post 2 catastrophic injuries, what he's been able to do has been miraculous and remarkable. And he deserves all of the praise for that. But if your options are, hey, we're going to give $25 million a year to Klay Thompson or to Malik Monk, I don't know how that's a choice.
Yeah.
Like, Klay's resume is only going to get you so far when he's not the offensive player he was. He's still effective, but not the player he was, and he's certainly not the player he was defensively.
No, I agree with you.
I don't get it.
I think pairing Jalen Suggs with him is at least intriguing because he's such a good defender. But here's the problem that I have if you're looking at the Orlando deal. They have guys that are coming up for contracts. So Suggs, and then Franz Wagner, and then Paolo Banchero. So you have to lay out like the next 3 years. So if they get one guy, sure, that's fine. Like, even if it's a 3-year deal where they might get into 1 season of Paolo Banchero's like next extension.
Yeah, which is going to be crazy high.
Well, it's going to be $30-something million a year. It is what it is, right? But the problem that you have is that if they try to go out and get 2, because they've got a bunch of cap space now, if they try to go out and get 2 guys, they'll run very quickly into 2 years from now they're going to be so far over the second apron that they're the Atlanta Hawks. That's basically what you're trying to avoid.
Yes.
And then there's a mystery team that keeps popping up, and I've heard this one on the side, and I've kind of heard it like out on, it's kind of out there a little bit on the streets, but back behind closed doors, I've heard that like the Detroit Pistons is a team to look out for. And I'm just really confused by, I'm not confused. Like, Detroit has a lot of money, right? And they need a player like Malik to sort of be a leader and all that stuff. I don't understand why why would you risk getting stuck in Detroit for a huge percentage of your career, your prime, with a team that I don't know has a way out of where they are. And it's possible that Detroit will figure it out. They've got a ton of talent. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this is a team that's been bad. I mean, they won 14 games last year.
You don't have to caveat it, dude. They stink.
Oh, yeah, they're horrible. Okay. Yeah.
And they have some nice pieces, but as a whole, that's not a team that is a Malik Monk away from contending.
No. Yeah, they've got their road ahead is not good. And they do have a young guy in Cade Cunningham, and another young guy in Jaden Ivey. But those 2 guys just happen to play your position, and they're both ball dominant. And I'm not sure how that works out for Malik. I mean, if you're going to go to Detroit and be a 6-man, like, okay, like, look, maybe they pay you $30 million a year to do it, and you just go, okay,
I'm chasing the money.
I get you're chasing the money, but at the same time, like, what are you doing?
That sounds miserable.
It does sound miserable.
But also, if someone was going to pay me $30 million to do anything, like, I would definitely consider it.
Yeah. I just can't imagine going somewhere to be a loser. Like, not that Malik's a loser, but that you're going to keep losing.
Yeah, you're not going to, right.
And that's the same thing why I bring up like one of my fears with a guy like Kyle Kuzma, like if you were to go out and trade for a guy like Kyle Kuzma, Kyle Kuzma chose to be there. He did. He chose to be there on a team that, like, if all he had to do is put that team together on 2K and play for 5 minutes and go, oh no, this ain't gonna work.
I don't
I want
to push back on that. Because you had a scenario where, okay, hey, they bring in Tyus Jones and that Denny Avdi, oh my gosh. Denny
Avdija?
Denny.
Yeah, Denny Avdija.
I knew there was a J in there. I just couldn't place it.
Yeah.
Jeez. He's there. Hey, here comes Jordan Poole. He just needs to get out from Golden State. He averaged 20 a night. He just needs to get away from Draymond Green. He's going to be great again. He helped him win a title. This team, I am going to be the focal point of this team that's going to compete in the East. I see the vision. Because if he was trying to, it's not like he got a max deal to go there or something. Like he got a nice little contract, but it's not he didn't get some insane amount of money.
No, but there were teams like the Kings that were interested around the same dollar figure.
Sure.
The 4-year 100, 4-year 85, whatever it is, 4-year 90, whatever he got.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were other teams that you could have gone to.
He spurned the winning franchise of the Sacramento Kings.
Well, yeah, but
come on.
There were also
no.
There were like the Houston Rockets were intrigued, and
sure.
the Rockets had like big plans to bring in 2 guys. Fred VanVleet being the first one. I don't think that they, like when they started that adventure we're going to go get 2 guys. I don't think they believed they were actually going to get Fred VanVleet, which they gave him like a 2-year. It's something ridiculous, like 2 years,
it felt like a lot.
70 or 2-year $80 million deal. I don't think they believed they were going to get him. And then when they got to a certain point where they landed him, it really cut down what they could offer a second player.
Sure.
So they went from going from a $25 million player range down to what they paid Dylan Brooks, which is more at the $20 million range. And again, that's another team with a whole bunch of young talent that is going to get paid, and you have to be super cautious about how you team build. But yeah,
the thing that would worry me with Kuzma is in the middle of the season, once we had proof positive that the Wizards stunk and that there's not like an ascension coming, like that's just an unserious team. And there was an opportunity for him to be traded to the Mavs, and he was like, "Nah, they don't our timelines don't line up," or whatever he rationale he used.
I don't remember what exactly happened there, but I would want to know.
That would worry me more than anything.
This offseason, like they've made it pretty clear out in the league that like he could be available this year for the right deal.
Sure.
They were asking too much last year. This year, I think the price will have come down at least some.
You'd hope so.
And you're looking at a team that probably should be looking to get back into the lottery. And I'm not sure that there are a lot of teams above the Kings that are enticing in that way, where at least you would know your place when you came to the Kings. You'd be the number 2 scoring option. You'd be like a starter alongside another up and coming guy, and in a lineup with 2 all-stars.
Yeah.
So there would at least be some of that you could, and some of it is like maybe the Kings aren't interested. I mean, they have been.
Yeah, they might have your thought process on this.
Yeah, they may have in the past been interested, and then like kind of like okay, or done more research.
Sure.
Or talk to their players, who a lot of them were in the same draft as Kuzma, that have known Kyle Kuzma for a while, and some of them might be kind of like, I'm not sure if that's a move. That's fine, but that can't be the move. And what are we giving up to get that and all that stuff?
Yeah.
But like either way, I think it's one of those deals where you have to look at it and go, okay, I would at least consider that. That would be my like walk into the draft. I know I have this in my back pocket. I think I have this in my back pocket type move. And then what else can I do? Is there a bigger fish I can go get? Does Mikal Bridges become available on draft night? Does Brandon Ingram? Can you align with some 2 or 3 team deal to make the Brandon Ingram contract work for you and others?
Sure.
But that's going to be the problem, because we're talking about this like OG Anunoby, like according to reports, isn't too keen on his first offers with the New
Yeah.
York Knicks. Well, the Kings can't go get in the OG Anunoby race. Like the
At all?
the days of sign and trades are pretty much over,
Right.
right? So the only thing the Kings can offer is a mid-level exception. And if he's turning down major money in New York, where his former agent
Right.
is
Yeah.
literally in the front office,
Yeah.
I have to, number one, I want to know what that offer is.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if he thought he was going to get, bless you. I kind of wonder if he thought he was going to get just a max deal off the rip, and he didn't, and he thinks there's going to be one out there for him. So it's like, yeah, I'll go test free agency. I'll see what's out there. That's kind of what I think is going on.
Yeah, all of the when the Kings were interested in OG, it was always with the understanding that like his next contract he wanted 30 plus.
Sure.
And that's tough because the thing with OG is he's very talented and he's a defensive game changer.
Yeah.
But he can't stay healthy.
Mhm.
And it's just something like it's not one season, it's not 2 seasons, it's his entire career
Mhm.
where you're like, okay, man, you're never healthy. You know, if you get 60 games out of him, okay, that's kind of what, and if you're going to base your team off of that, that's fine. But you have a tough time putting all that money into a player that can't stay healthy throughout his career. So
Yeah.
I don't
70
know.
games one time.
Yeah. And he's a guy who had a catastrophic knee injury in his final year in
Mhm.
college.
Yep.
At Indiana, right? So he's a guy that you're sort of worried about, you know, what how long does that knee hold up? And I'm not like fully concerned. I think he's a really good player. He's not even 27 yet.
Mhm.
But you still have to in the back of your mind go, okay, we need players that are going to play and are
Yeah.
going to play a
Yeah, no
lot of
doubt.
games. And
Especially if you're gonna go way into the luxury tax and start going into first and second aprons to get them.
oh yeah, totally.
That's if you can guarantee that you're getting 82 games of OG Anunoby and then whatever the playoffs are, then awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I just think that like it's an interesting discussion because you got guys like that. And then right now, so people out there go, well, how is it that OG Anunoby can just sign with the Pacers? Because it looks
Mhm.
like that's heading towards him getting a massive extension with the Pacers, like right now. And he can't officially sign anything until June 30th. And then he can't, well, it can't even really be all that announced, but then the moratorium lifts on June 6th, July 6th, which
Sure.
is when he would officially sign his contract. So right now, they're the only ones who can negotiate with him, and they're going to give him the bag.
Mhm.
And they don't have restrictions like the early bird rights that Malik Monk has.
Mhm.
And so Monk is going to want to test free agent waters. OG Anunoby is going to want to go talk to the 76ers
Sure.
or a couple of the other teams that have
Feels like
lots of
every
money.
free agent is gonna go talk to the 76ers this year.
Yeah, yeah. So you're just trying to figure out how all of these pieces work together. But
Mhm.
there are reasons why we're hearing, oh, like the OG Anunoby thing is building towards something
Mhm.
already.
Yeah.
And that's because they're the only ones who can negotiate with him and they're willing to give him all the monies.
Right.
And there isn't a bunch of teams out there with a ton of money that can offer OG Anunoby 40 plus million a year.
Yeah. If you were Malik Monk ranking your options of Sacramento, Orlando, and Philly,
Oh,
how would you order those?
I would have to look at Philly pretty
I think so too.
closely.
Philly's at the top for me.
Yeah, the question I would have there is number one, is Philly offering that money? And number two, how do you play with Tyrese Maxey? Can you
Mhm.
fit in a backcourt? Would that like work, especially with how much like
Mhm.
Joel Embiid has such a huge usage rate? Like,
Mhm.
how do you fit into all of that?
Yeah.
And it's like if you were to go there, it's like the three of you and like Paul Reed. Now, what else does the rest of the team look
Big
like?
Paul Reed guy.
Like
Sure.
it's a
Sure.
very intriguing question. Like, how do we
Yeah.
build the rest of this thing?
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables there.
Yeah.